Well, it takes more than a bit of rain to dampen the enthusiasm in these parts, especially when Ferrari are leading both World Championships. The cathedral doors have been opened for the first time here at Imola since 2006, and the pilgrims have made their way for their Sunday service. Welcome around to round 4 of the Formula One World Championship in 2022. It's the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and this, the Imola track, staging a World Championship Grand Prix for the 30th time. Top speed in the dry of 189 miles an hour, 1 DRS zone, 19 turns, and a run of 575 metres from pole to the first braking zone, where we saw in 2021 Hamilton and Verstappen tangling as Verstappen took the lead from third on the grid, where his teammate Sergio Perez starts today. Perez in the race came a cropper down at the Villeneuve chicane, sliding off into the gravel. Conditions very similar then to how we'll start this race today. And this was Lewis Hamilton sliding off the track. He was lucky to rejoin after a red flag and come back to finish on the podium. It is a damp start to the race here today. It's been raining for the last few hours, but has stopped in the last 20 minutes. So I think we will see the intermediates and the wets being used. Will we see the slick tyres as more rain is forecast to come during the course of this race? C4, C3 and C2, the slick compound tyres that we're using this weekend. Here's the starting grid then, and after a crash yesterday, Zhou Guanyu is forced to start from the pit lane. Nicholas Latifi starts last on the grid in 19th, just behind his teammate Alex Albon, with Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri starting 17th. It's been a bad weekend so far for them. Esteban Ocon had a gearbox problem, but made up 3 places in the sprint to start 16th, alongside Lance Stroll. Lewis Hamilton, for the second time in 13 years, starts 14th, alongside Sebastian Vettel, who's 13th. Yuki Tsunoda made up places in the sprint race to take his spot alongside George Russell, the lead Mercedes today. Mick Schumacher, a best ever grid start for him alongside Fernando Alonso. Schumacher 10th, Alonso is 9th. Kevin Magnussen lost places in the sprint and is down to 8th alongside Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris line up together on the 3rd row, McLaren's best grid spots of the season so far. It's Sergio Perez starting 3rd alongside Carlos Sainz, who went from 10th to 4th in the sprint yesterday. Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen on the front row. Then at the back has the green flag, and he waves it to signal the lights ahead of 63 laps. It's lights out and away we go, and unlike yesterday, Verstappen gets away well. Daniel Ricciardo hits Carlos Sainz, and Ferrari is spun round, and Ricciardo manages to keep going, and oh no! Carlos Sainz, for the 2nd race in a row, 2nd Grand Prix in a row, looks like his afternoon has been ended way earlier than he would have wanted.
Yeah, he's stuck in the gravel, and it just is absolutely beached on the gravel. He can't get going. The only thing he could hope for is the safety car comes out quickly, but you can't get outside assistance to move forward. And of course George Russell has the benefit of that. He's up to P6, Crofty.
Lewis Hamilton getting past Fernando Alonso.
But you can see there's a bit of a hole there already, and there it goes. But it was from damage. That must have been on the first lap or at the restart. But there's Lewis picking the right way around. Of course, the grip's on the outside off the rubber, but...
How bad is the damage? Quite bad. Quite bad.
2nd DNF of the season then for Fernando Alonso. Lando Norris, can he defend against Charles Leclerc? He's done a very nice job of it so far. Leclerc looks an awful lot closer this time, and under braking, Charles Leclerc goes for it into the chicane. That'll please the Tifosi. You can hear the roars all the way to Maranello, 56 miles away. Leclerc's up into the podium places. Russell this time is going to go for it, and he's side by side with Kevin Magnussen, and he's ahead of Kevin Magnussen, and at the third time of asking, he gets into the chicane ahead, but he makes a bit of a mess of it. Can he get back out in front? 17 years ago today, Fernando Alonso won, that we saw as Russell now into the Variante Alta, makes the move. Kevin Magnussen might not have been expecting it there, but this time around, Russell's made the move, and he's made it stick too. As across the grass goes Sebastian Vettel, and here comes Valtteri Bottas, wheel to wheel with Kevin Magnussen down into Rivanza. Tricky braking zone. Bottas, I think, has managed to get the car stopped and slowed down enough to snatch sixth place ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Lovely move. Perez does come in for Red Bull. Charles Leclerc has carried on, and Mercedes are going to make a tyre change too. So Verstappen into the pits and out again. Leclerc into the pits and out again. Sergio Perez, he's not had the best of laps here because Charles Leclerc has now got ahead of Sergio Perez. Perez eventually does find a bit of space. This is the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton pitting. Was this an unsafe release? 5-second time penalty for Esteban Ocon. Goes Yuki Tsunoda on Kevin Magnussen. And Yuki Tsunoda, nothing wrong with his power unit there whatsoever, is up into 8th place, where of course he finished in Bahrain in the season opener. Is going to have to fend off Yuki Tsunoda. We did say that Tsunoda has the pace to chase down that Aston Martin. Gaps behind them, well, still half. Charles Leclerc goes into the barrier at the Variante Alta. Now he's kept the car going. He's kept everything running. One Ferrari already out, and another Ferrari potentially out. Behind Yuki Tsunoda and Sebastian Vettel, and Tsunoda's making the move on Vettel. Tried it the previous lap, didn't get it done, has got it done now.
Why is he trying to do that? Because he wants to get the DRS down at Rivanza.
If he can't get past Kevin Magnussen, well, that's just going to compound his misery for the rest of this afternoon. He has got much better speed than Magnussen, fresher tyres than Magnussen, and does manage to get past the Haas. So he's now up into 8th, and it's Sebastian Vettel further up the road that's his next target. Sebastian Vettel has been passed already for 7th place. Charles Leclerc is going to make it another pass for 7th place against Sebastian Vettel, and that was an easier move than Charles Leclerc could have hoped for. Max Verstappen 14 seconds out in front. Charles Leclerc was thinking about 2nd place at one stage and has just made the move on Yuki Tsunoda into 6th place after that late crash at the Variante Alta. This has been a very comfortable win indeed for the defending world champion, the reigning world champion. He's coped with the rain here this weekend. Max Verstappen comes to the line, wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix by some distance, and it's a distance from his teammate Sergio Perez as Red Bull come to Ferrari's backyard and make it a 1-2. The crowd, the 64,000 fans, packed the banks and the grandstands hoping to see victory for the Reds. Well, they kind of did, but it was the Red Bulls who reigned supreme in the rain in Emilia Romagna.
Yeah, very pleased. I mean, of course, to score the maximum amount of points, also how the whole race went from the start to the right calls with the tires, and then also 1-2 at the end. So, yeah, super happy. A lot of points scored. We also needed the points, so we look like we're a bit more back on track, but yeah, we have to try and keep this going.
Yeah, it was a good result. I think the rule number 1 of these conditions is to finish, and it was so easy to make a mistake throughout the race, you know, going into the slick tire, the warm-up phase and so on. That was going to be difficult, but it was great to get that victory.
We won a lot in the start. I had a perfect start, honestly. Probably my best one I've had in the wet. You know, that put me ahead of a bit of the carnage. You know, Carlos got taken out then, so we won a lot in the beginning, and we just had really good pace throughout. I guess not as amazing as the guys ahead, but I just managed it like I needed to do ahead of George, and that's all I needed to do.
I'm disappointed in myself. I tried too much. Obviously, there was an opportunity with Checo on that lap. I thought, I obviously wanted to give it all and gave it all in turn 14, 15, but I gave too much and finished into the wall. So instead of the 3rd place, we lose 7 potential points.
Unfortunately, I think I left plenty of space for Daniel in the inside, but he decided to get on the curb and understeer into me, and that was it for my race. Very unlucky, nothing I could do differently there, but it's what it is.